1 through 9. It says, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. He said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. I promised you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you. From the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. This is my command. Be strong and be courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So Joshua, he was basically one of Moses' right-hand men. Okay, they're traveling in the desert 40 years. Joshua I believe he was a slave in Egypt. He takes over. God made a promise. He gave him a country, the land of milk and honey. It was, in essence, at that time, the best place in the world. So I imagine that most of us, if we had Oprah money, we'd buy an island, right? Amen. She bought an island like 5 years ago for her boyfriend. That's some like real-time money, right? So if you think about it, you had your own island, right? So God promised you an island, all for yourself and your family and your friends and stuff. That'd be pretty sweet, right? And in essence, it's kind of like that. He promised them a nation. It's in the middle of the desert where they've been wandering around for 40 years. So he tells Joshua, it's time, I'm going to give it to you. He tells you the parameters of all of it. He tells you be strong and courageous. Because the thing is, Moses was a leader and he led by walking and commands and getting God's commands. Joshua is a warrior. And that's the difference. Joshua's job is to take the land. Because you see, it's not like it's the Garden of Eden and they're the only people in the world. There are people there in that land that God promised them. And it's people who worship other gods. It's people who don't know God, and they're basically trespassers on God's property that now belongs to the Israelites. The one command he gives Joshua that's important, in essence, is read the Bible. It wasn't exactly a Bible at that time. There were scrolls written down by Moses, tablets, things like that. But it's to follow the instructions, read day and night, so you can stay in God's will. Because up to this point, the reason Moses isn't here is because they didn't listen to God. They were quite sinful the whole time they're in the desert. But God's faithful and he keeps his promises. Y'all know that, right? Yeah. So here's the key. God's got promises for us all. And I want to think of the best example I could of me, and I really ain't got one, so I'm going to use what popped in my head. Me, as you heard earlier, man is having a baby, right? Dude, 4 weeks. I knew in my heart that we would have a baby when we got married. I knew it. I felt God reassure me of that. But it took a year or two for her to get pregnant. And in that whole time, it's a struggle. Because I felt the promise, but I read statistics. I was 30 years old. It's like the less of a chance of me being able to have a baby as you get older and all that. It makes you a little nervous, but I trust God's promises, and then she got pregnant. And then 4 months later, she lost it. And, you know, that hurts. Because you feel like someone stole your promise. When you're standing in the hospital thinking that you're losing your son or your daughter. It's a tough feeling. And looking at your wife laying there on a bed in a hospital, you know. And the thing you can do, you can not believe the promise. You can believe what reality seems like. Or you can believe the promise. And that's what we did, because the next day, I told this story before, we came here, it was Wednesday. And I did a message on faith, and Amanda helped me praise and worship. And we told no one. No one at all. I remember in the Bible when King David lost his son, he fasted and he cried while he was sick, laid on his face and prayed. And when he died, he went to the temple and worshiped God. That's what we did, we worship God. We believe his promises. Like I said, he has a promise for each and every one of you. Amen. His promise for you is not necessarily the same as his promises for me. In fact, I'm standing there holding this microphone, and at one time I was holding a knife in my wrist because I was a suicidal alcoholic. But, I mean, I worded it weird, but the thing is, his promises for us, if we trust him, they'll change everything. They'll change it all. And see, this is the thing with Joshua. He promised to the Israelites, to the Jewish nation, this land. And he let a whole generation die before they got it. But he kept his promise. Now, we move in here to the wall of Jericho. I know the majority of you know what it is, but let me explain. It's a city, basically, with a wall around it. It's real simple. I'm sure you've seen, like, videos of back in the day, all the cities had walls around them. That's how they try to protect themselves. Nobody had guns. There's basically armies that just come and kill you. So they built a city, a wall around the city, and they're scared of the Israelites. Now here's the thing, they're on the land promised to God. And they've heard of God. He's part of the Red Sea. He sent all the plagues on Egypt, the biggest nation in the world. So Jericho is not Egypt. They're nowhere near that size. And they're scared of the Israelites. So they hide behind their walls in fear of what's on the other side. Because they know that the God of the Israelites is powerful. And they know that what he wants will happen. This probably sounds familiar to people with these walls. These walls we put up, similar walls, in our lives. You know, parents get divorced, you try to block it, push it down deep, because that's what I did when I was a kid. You push it down deep because each day is hard, and you get tired of it being hard, so you build up this front where it don't hurt no more because you don't care. Or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, they broke up with you, or they cheated on you, or whatever. And you build a wall and numb it. The next one does the same thing, and you numb it. You know, eventually with that kind of stuff, because you numb the things from relationships from your parents, and from people you date, from your friends, you start not trusting people, you start not loving people, you start becoming a pretty hard-hearted person. You look around this world, there's a whole lot more hard-hearted people out there than loving people. Just build up the walls and callous hearts are not good. And we do the same with money. When we don't have it, we want it. And it feels like we can't get enough. It feels like, you know, we can't even eat, even though we can. It's one of those things. I mean, I'm transparent, and I don't say any of this stuff. You know, some of the stuff I say I really should be embarrassed about. But I've been without money so much because I was an alcoholic and I ate up in trash can. You know, built a wall up. I blame the government, blame my parents, blame my employer that I deserve more money, when really I slept half the day on the job because I was a selfish alcoholic. The thing is, we build up fake walls and fake realities to kind of shield ourselves from the truth. The truth was, for me, in most of my life, is I sucked. Like, I sucked at living. This is what I told God when I prayed. Like, I'm not good at this, man. I'm not. Seems like a lot of people got it together, and they did well in school, and they made good money, and they're happy, and I wasn't most of my life. I wasn't happy. But here's the thing. Even as a kid, when I started building those walls, they get big, and they get strong, and they're hard to break. And here's the thing. I knew that whole time that the God of the Israelites was powerful enough to do big things. You know what? That scared me more than anything. Because I'd seen it. Because I grew up in this. I was singing the Star Spangled Banner at 3 years old in front of a church. Before my parents got divorced, I was real open. I was at church all the time. When I got divorced, I didn't want to be there. And I just heard all the time. And the thing was, oh wow. You ever do this thing where you notice you said the same thing a lot? Tonight it's the thing was. So when I say it, you can giggle because I'm pointing it out. So I stopped. But here it is. Oh gonna get myself back together here. Okay, yeah, I was saying. Alright, I'm just gonna skip it. Here's what I'm getting at. Then we're gonna move on. Joshua chapter 6, 1 through 5. They got the walls around the city like we got the walls around our heart because we're in fear. And that's what they are, in fear. Keeping something out. God is the Israelites. And in essence, that's what we're doing. We're keeping out love. We're keeping out good things because we're afraid of getting hurt. We're afraid of getting our hopes up because we're tired of getting let down. Right? That's what the walls are about. So, I'm going to do a demonstration here. As I read this, I asked for 7 priests. That's what I needed. So, I delegated 7. And so, I'm going to go up here so you can see. As I read this, they're going to start walking around the platform here. This is the wall of Jericho. They're going to walk around it 6 times while I read it. It says, now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go out or in. But the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king, and all its strong warriors. You and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times with the priests blowing the horns. When you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horns, have all the people shout as loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse and the people can charge straight into the town. So, Joshua 6, 8 through 14. After Joshua spoke to the people, the 7 priests with the ram's horn started marching in the presence of the Lord, blowing the horns as they marched, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed behind them. Some of the armed men marched in front of the priests with the horns, and some behind the ark, with the priests continually blowing the horns. Do not shout, do not even talk, Joshua commanded. Not a single word from any of you until I tell you to shout. Then shout. So the ark of the Lord was carried around the town once that day, and then everyone returned to spend the night in the camp. Joshua got up early the next morning, and the priests again carried the ark of the Lord. The 7 priests with the ram's horns marched in front of the ark of the Lord, blowing their horns. Again, the armed men marched both in front of the priests with the horns and behind the ark of the Lord. All the time the priests were blowing their horns on the 2nd day, and they again marched around the town once and returned to the camp. They followed this pattern for 6 days. So as you see, that's the preparation, okay? They went around 6, and we'll say that, did you go around 6? 6, good, thank you. I thought it said 7 and I meant 6. So, they went around 6 times. Each time will represent one full day. So you got a picture, they're outside of the walls, ready for war, and they walked around one time. That's all they did all day. Now this ain't, they weren't in RVs or nothing. They had little tents, and I don't know what they ate. I don't really know what they ate back then, to be honest with you. Figs and cactus blossoms, I don't know. But, so each day they walk around. 6 days out, you know what I mean? It's basically the desert. And they just walk around carrying the ark of the Lord, playing some trumpets, right? So the 7th day was the important one. So now, they got the mindset. They've been praising the Lord for a week. And they know the promise. And they know this is the beginning here of all that they got to do to get their land. And Joshua 6:15 through 20. I'll stop. On the 7th day, the Israelites got up at dawn and marched around the town as they had done before. But this time they went around the town 7 times. 7th time around, as the priests sounded the long blast on their horns, Joshua commanded the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the town. Jericho and everything in it must be completely destroyed. So instead of walking around 7 times again, we'll do 1 and I'll walk with you. Now, we don't have horns, so I tried to think, you gotta remember this is 1400 to 1525 BC, somewhere in there. That's a pretty long time ago. That's like 1500 years ago before Jesus was born, which was over 2,000 years ago. So it was like 3,500 years ago. I'm sure trumpets were awesome, right? Horns and awesome. But so, trying to think if this happened in 2013, what would God say? And so instead of horns, we're going to play the new song by Family Force 5, because I'm pretty sure they listen to Family Force 5 in heaven, because they're awesome. So, we'll go around a 7th time, and then we're going to play the horns, and then we're all going to shout, all of you from your seats, all of them and me, and we're going to shout. Now what this represents is Jericho, and the walls. What it also represents is the walls in our hearts, and the walls in our minds, the walls that say, I can't do good at school because I'm stupid, because somebody told me I was, or because I struggled to learn how to read, or the walls that say I'm ugly, the walls that say I'm fat, the walls that say, you know, I ain't never going to be nothing, I'm never going to have nothing, because I never have. See, these walls we build up, we believe lies that the world want to tell us. They want to tell us all these things that aren't true. But if I believed the lies of the world, I'd be dead right now. Or I'd be up in a bar, drunk, with my beer gut was bigger than my wife's pregnant belly. When I was 23, I was chunky. Like, it was, here's the thing, if I believed the lies of the world, where would I be? In a gutter, and I'd be still eating out of a trash can. I wouldn't be married, I wouldn't be having a son. Woo! If I was alive, I'd probably be in prison. Because I got one DWI when I was 20. You imagine, and I hadn't drank since I was 24. So you imagine in the last 7 years how many DWIs that I racked up? Here's the thing. God can change your life if you let it. We got to take the walls down. So we're going to walk around one time. After that, we hit the horn, and we're all shouting. Ready?